Welcome to the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, where you get multifamily investing made real. Learn from top players in the real estate investment world as they share their secrets with you and discover proven strategies on apartment investing that actually work. To learn more about Wheelbarrow Profits, visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. Now to your hosts, Jake and Gino.
Hello, everybody. This is Jake Stenziano, host of the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, the chef, the father of six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barbaro. Gino, how's it going?
Jake, I'm doing great. How you doing, bro?
Doing awesome, and today I'm super excited because we are talking about mind over matter and what this really comes down to. Multifamily is 90% mental and 10% mechanical. You heard it here first. I'm holding to it, no doubt in my mind. Gino, what say you?
I believe that. I believe that tremendously. I think you have to have your mindset done. I didn't get successful. I at least didn't achieve what I thought was success until I said to myself, what do I want to do out of this? What do I want to get out of this? Why am I doing real estate? Why am I, getting into the game? And I was in the game for a long time. At least I thought I was in the game. I was in the landlording game. I was just in the grind game. Had no plan, had no thought of why I was getting into it. Once I clarified the thought and I started focusing my thoughts and my energies, I started achieving levels of success that I had never achieved before.
The grind game. I love that. That's the first time I ever heard you say that.
And you know what? I don't like to use the word grind, but that's how it felt like to me. When you use words like small and grind and pain, those are all negative connotations. I always talk with those 7 levels of energy. Those are anger. Those are level 1 and level 2, low levels of energy. And you know what? You have to grind it out sometimes. But if you're doing something you love, grinding it out is not bad. But if you're doing something that you don't love, that's not your passion, then it's a grind. And that's what I was doing, a grind in the very beginning. And until I started achieving, like I said, those levels of success, I didn't mind grinding once I started really kicking butt because it wasn't a grind to me. I was like, okay, I've got to do this today. I've got to write this article. I've got to write something for tenants. I started enjoying it, and I said, let's keep doing this. So
I'm going to tee this up perfectly for people because I grind every day. I grind. There's no doubt. Got to grind. Got to advance. But when I'm grinding, and I look back, and 3 years ago we had 0 units, and now we have over $30 million in real estate. That's the kind of grind I want to be doing. You're out there grinding, you're growing, grinding and growing at the same time. I think what you're talking about is when you were working at the restaurant and the dishwasher didn't show up and you had to go back and wash dishes, and at the end of the year you made the same or less than you did the previous year. You don't feel good about that grind. You want to be grinding and growing. And I'm going to put that on Instagram after the show, but I like that. So we got to be grinding and growing here, and that's what we're talking about today. So the first step to this whole multifamily game and getting into it for you guys out there that are newbies is really, are you in it to win it? Are you in it for the long haul? Are you looking to buy and hold? What is your goal? And Gino, I want you to talk about this. What are you trying to achieve? Because I think that's what really changed a lot for both of us is when you made up your mind and you said, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. We talked about it a lot, me and you. I mean, I don't understand the fix and flip model unless you're a contractor. It's just, and it's just so cyclical. That's a grind to me. I mean, unless you're a contractor and you've got other jobs going on and you want to fix a couple houses a year, that's great. But people get in it deluding themselves that it's not a business. That is a business. That has to be systematized. There's 4 parts to that. You have to start raising money. You have to buy properties, fix properties, and sell properties, all 4 at the same time. So if you're going to go buy one house and say, I'm going to be a fix and flipper and buy this house and work on it for 3 months, that's not business. That's not real estate. That's trading. That's a ton of risk. Nothing wrong with it. I'm not criticizing in any way.
You make plenty of money doing it, right?
Yeah, and people do make money, and people make a living. But why are you on earth to make a living? Everyone thinks that we're here. They think too small. I mean, we were part of that, right? We thought small. If we got our first 25 units, that's great.
Oh, I thought I made it. I landed at that point. I arrived.
Right. So I thought so too.
Yeah.
And then the next one was 36 units. I'm like, well, dude, I mean, how much bigger can we get? We think too small. So people think they're going to buy a house, fix it and flip it, and on average, it's $20,000 profit for all of that risk. Are you going to risk to get earned?
Don't talk about the headache. Talk about the headache and dealing with contractors, and when you find the plumbing leak you didn't know, and then you realize the roof, was not as stable as you thought. Then you had to replace the underlayment. These things happen, and they will wear you out
all the time. And at the end of the day, like you like to say, you don't own anything. You just sold your asset,
Yeah.
and it wasn't really an asset to begin with.
Cash flow just dried up.
Yeah, where it's short term. So if you're in it for that and you have a specific model and you want to buy two to raise capital to buy something to buy and hold, I totally understand it. But if you're just going for one flip to the next flip to the next flip, I mean, you're obviously going to make, if you're a broker, you're going to make real estate commissions on that. So that's part of your living. But you're also outlaying a lot of capital. And you know what? The greater fool theory, and we're getting into it in this market, where people are buying these houses and they're getting higher and higher. There's going to be a point where there's no return. Once you peak, it's going to go down. You're going to get stuck with that last house or last two houses, and there goes your profits. So you have to know why you're getting into it. I got into it because I just wanted to get into another business. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to create that monthly passive income, and it's not passive because every month Jake and I have to deal with a lot of crap. We have a lot of employees. I'm constantly writing stuff. I'm writing a tenant survey today that I want to send out to all the tenants. We wrote a tenant handbook last month that we're giving to all our tenants, all prospective tenants. So it's constantly thinking outside the box and trying to grow our value. So is our thing easy? No, it isn't. But at the end of the day, we own assets, and we're continually adding value to those assets. And from there, that's what I think you should do. I think you should look at it as a business, not just as a hobby and not just as a job. You have to really consider it as a business. And if you're going to fix and flip, consider it as a business. Try to systematize it. Try to get your systems out there where you're constantly getting leads coming in, constantly getting money coming in, and constantly churning it. And if you can do that, I think that's a great strategy.
See, we are super hands-on, and our goal from the beginning was to create passive income and build wealth. We talk about that all the time. The more systematized our business gets, the more passive it becomes. But we're still going up that roller coaster. We're still building the business up to get it to the point where it's less hands-on. But we're very hands-on owners. That's just who we are, and that's great. I mean, because at the end of the day, we're in control. We wanted control from the beginning. We didn't want our destiny, our fate, to be in the hands of somebody else, some fund manager. So that was all part of what we were trying to achieve. We wanted to be in control of our destiny. We wanted to create wealth, and we wanted to create passive income. And the passive income will come a little bit later down the road when we have systematized our business and we have all of the key employees in place. We'll still be hands-on. There'll be still times that we're heavily involved in the business, but that's what we wanted to create because we wanted to leave a legacy. We want to create that generational wealth. Gino's got a big family. My family's growing. We want to have a secure base for the family, and that's what's important to us. That's why we're posing this first question: what are you trying to achieve? Are you, a single person, living, in San Francisco, and you just want to create some cash? This may not be the model for you. This is a buy and hold, long-term, fully committed strategy to build wealth. That's what we're proposing here. We're not proposing chunkers of cash, one off here, one off there. This is a long-term, let's get rich over the long haul. Let's build wealth, create generational wealth strategy.
But in the same vein, it doesn't have to be long-term, 5 or 10 years, because I'm going to tell you, we caught the market, right? Were we lucky? I think we were lucky. But in the last 3 years, we have had 3 6-figure refis.
Yep.
We're going to have 2 7-figure refis.
That sounds good when you say that. Tell me again. I like that.
Okay. 3 6-figure refis, 100,000 or more. And 2, tomorrow we're going to have $1.6 million pulled out. So, and the first one was $1,650,000. So, my point is, it all depends what you want to get out of it. We refied it for the tax consequences, for continuing to hold, but we didn't have to. We could put these things on the market. Mm-hmm. We could have sold them. We could have done whatever. We could have actually
That's fair. That's very fair.
Sold part of the deal to somebody and said, you know what, we'll give you 50% of this deal. Come in with us. We'll raise. We could have done that also. Grant Cardone's great tip. I thought that was an awesome tip. The property stabilized. You're always looking for people that are looking for 6 or 7% on their money. This deal is secure. We could have done that and said, you know what, we're done. We want to cash out. We don't want to do that. But you can get super wealthy in 3 to 5 years if and when you catch the market right. And I can show you how to catch the market right. You can go into different emerging markets. We're going to go over the 28 questions so you figure out what a market you want to go into. If you buy right, you can set yourself up for the next 3 to 5 years by doing these cash out refis.
Yes.
And then you're basically done. And if you don't want to manage these properties, you hand it off to a management company. Are you going to be as efficient as Jake and Gino? Definitely not. But you know what? Are you still going to make a ton of money? You sure are. So it all depends what your strategy is. If you just want to build that wealth long term and continue to grow these things, because listen, when I'm 55 or 60 years old in the next 10 or 15 years, I still want to be working. I still want to be doing stuff. So this is perfect for me because I can still be hands on. I can still be doing stuff. But you know what? If I want to take a few days off, I can take a few days off with this business.
Mm-hmm. So this is what we're getting at. What are you trying to achieve? why do you want to be in multifamily? I think we've hammered this point enough. We're in it for long-term wealth creation. And Gino, I just want you to talk a little bit more about what was your why. You always talk about what was your why. What was your why? Why did you get into this?
Well, it's funny. I got into it because I just was, I'm sure a lot of the listeners out there are in a job, whether it's corporate or a small business, and you're just fed up with the economy. And back in '08, I go and blame the economy. I blame Obama. I blame everybody but my mother about what's going on instead of blaming myself, because you raise your level of consciousness. It's not your external. It's all internal, 95% of internal. Now, obviously, some things might affect you, but you know what? There's other guys out there in '09, 2010 that are making millions of bucks. Mm-hmm. It's not Jake. It's not Gino. You got to figure out why. And I figured out why, and I figured out what was going on. Now, did it happen overnight? No, it took me a while because I went to do some coaching. I went to get my coaching certificate. I became a certified life coach. It took about a year to do that, and I figured out what was going on, and I had to work on myself. And my why was I just didn't want to be in the business that I was in. Too many hours. It was more like a paycheck or job than an actual business. I couldn't grow. I had one location, and I was just thinking outside the box. And at that time, the internet was just expanding and blowing up, and I couldn't figure out how to use it in my business. If I had figured it out, I would have stayed in that business and done that aspect of it, but I just couldn't figure it out at the time. So that's how I ended up with real estate.
And what we're trying to get at here is it was a mental commitment on both our parts. And that's why I'm saying it's 90% mental and 10% mechanical. Gino did some coaching. I was hands-on figuring the business out from the ground up. Anybody can do that. That doesn't take anything but you investing a few dollars in your education and just getting your hands dirty. Anybody can do that. The difference was we committed. We mentally made up our mind. This is what we're going to do. We're not veering off the path. It's 100% all in. We didn't stick our toe in and test it. We jumped in. Gino and I did a Jake and Gino cannonball together, and we just committed to it. That was it, and we didn't look back. And it sounds so cliche, so simplistic, but I can't point to anything else other than we didn't quit, and that's what we did.
There's 4 things that we always talk about. At least I always talk about. It's thought, desire, massive action, result. Your thoughts are going to lead to your desires. My thought was I wanted to get out of business. So that, how am I going to do that? Then it came my desire. If a thought is just a thought, it's going to emanate, it's going to go away. But then my thought turned into a real burning desire. For my burning desire, I took massive action. I took a lot of massive action. I still am. I'm just going to leave New York and go down to Jacksonville with my family, relocate. That's a massive action when you got 6 kids trying to sell a house, trying to rent a house, trying to do all the logistics. That's massive action. And from that massive action, you get results. Now, I can stay in New York, be happy being in New York, paying these onerous taxes, have no future for my kids. I can do that. That's a choice of mine. But I'm trying to elect not to do that so I can have some kind of future for my children when they can pay $7 or $8 for school as opposed to paying $30 or $40 up here. So I'm thinking about their future. I'm thinking about them being able to afford a $200,000 home when they get out of college and they start their lives. So I'm setting up that massive action. That's going to lead to your results, and that's what Jake was talking about. We had thoughts of getting into multifamily. Then we had the burning desire to do it. He hated his job. I don't know if he hated the job, but he hated the results he was getting from his job. And
not only that, they were doing layoffs every year. I mean, I didn't think I was going to, it was just a matter of time. I mean, the industry is just, in a downward spiral right now. At least the company I was working for is. So. And
that's what happened. So from his desire, he took massive action. He was working full-time. We were both working full-time at the same time as doing multifamily. So that's massive action. You're working 40 to 50 hours a week on top of another 10 to 15 and that's massive action. And then
kicking down doors, baby. Just it was going to happen. And one of the ways that we do it, and for the folks on YouTube, I just want to point out I have 3 right here talking about my goals right now. Number 1, I want to build 16 units. We got a foundation on one of these properties. It's primed, ready to go. There's an apartment complex building on this one foundation at one of our complexes. We're going to rebuild on it. I'm meeting with a contractor today. We're starting to get bids. We got the plans. Everything is stamped. So that's number 1. And this is part of continuing to grow. Gino mentioned a refi. We're refining half of a 300-unit complex tomorrow. And then I want to finish off the other half. So, continuing to stabilize the portfolio, buy right, manage right, and finance right. And the last one is my long-term, my stretch goal. I want to hit 10,000 units. Right now we're just shy of 700. I think, early next year we'll be well over 700, if not to 1,000. If we can pick off a big one, that's what we're really hoping for, right? So it's that constant commitment. We're not slowing down. We're not backing off. It's full steam ahead, and we're trying to do it. We're really out there trying to make it happen and blow this thing up. So now we talked about the mental. You got to commit. You got to be mentally in the game and say, look, I'm not veering off this course. If this is what you want to do, if your goals are similar, and that's why I think a lot of folks that are on, listen to the podcast have similar goals. They're trying to get out of that, 9 to 5 where they're working for somebody else and they're creating wealth for other people. I think the folks that are on the call want to create wealth for themselves, and I think that's one of the common threads that we all share. Let's get into a little bit of the mechanics. We talked about the mental. Let's get into a little bit of the mechanics. Gino, number one, what do you think? Pick a market. That's what we have on our list today. Pick a market is number one.
Yeah, I mean, just do your market research. I've got tons of articles on bigger pockets. Google my name, Gino Barber. You pull out 8 or 9 on there that's going to specifically talk about how to value, how to pick a market, how to research your market, and even on jakeandgino.com. Read my articles. The articles are really, really in-depth. It's really high actionable stuff. That's the first thing on how to pick a market and how to research a market. I think it's very important to find markets. It depends what you want. We're going to go over it in a couple minutes, but I was in Cleveland, Ohio yesterday checking out that market. I spoke to somebody yesterday also about the Milwaukee market. It seems like those are cash flowing markets. They're not going to appreciate, but they're going to cash flow nicely. Like Jake said, in California, you're not going to get that cash flow. You're going to get.
Let's talk about that a little bit. The difference between sort of these East and West Coast, type real estate investments and what we sort of see in the Southeast and in the Midwest and some of these places. Why don't you elaborate on that a little bit? What the main differences are that we see?
The coastal cities tend to be more expensive on the Northeast and California because there's more competition there. There's more money there. There's more stupid money there. So stupid money leads to stupid things. That's the bottom line. In the Midwest, it's very slow growing. There's not a lot of cap appreciation. There really isn't. But if you live in that market in Ohio, you can start out with a 20-unit property for $500,000 to $600,000, and it might seem like a lot because you need 20% down. Doesn't have to be your 20%. You find somebody you want to partner with. You take a little piece of that deal, and you start from there. And if you can learn your market, I was there yesterday. I learned a pretty good deal of being in that market, and I was only there for 4 or 5 hours. Thanks to Delta for having a day-wide crash on their systems, bro. You think Jake and Gino blew up the internet? Delta blew up yesterday, bro. I didn't even tell you. I was there for 2 hours getting on, and I got home last night. They flew in a plane from Pittsburgh into Cleveland to get it back to New York on the runway. Took us an hour and a half. We were in the air for an hour and a half on the tarmac. But those are things you have to do. That's massive action. I wouldn't say I wasted. I had a good time. I went with a friend yesterday, a little vino in the afternoon on the way home. But it was stressful flying there and I had no kids. I was by myself. I'm never on the plane without my kids unless I come down to see Jake. And I did a lot of research in that market, but we took a whole day. It was tiring. Met with 2 great brokers, Matt King, and I met with James Wise's group out in Cleveland, Ohio, Holton Wise. Shout out to Antonio also. We learned a lot about the market. I went into two different types of market. You have to pick a market. So as Jake was saying, in the Midwest, I think there's great opportunities there. If you want to start cash flowing, what's your gig? If you need to hit $5,000 a month or $8,000 a month to be financially free, I would go after those cash flow markets. Get financially free, because then once you're financially free, you have the ability to do whatever you want, and it's really powerful. Everyone's trapped in this financial grind. That's what I see. People making $150,000, $200,000 a year. It seems like a lot of money, but they don't have their finances in order, and they're trapped. They feel like they feel like they're suffocating. With this type of cash flow in the Midwest, you can really, really get yourself out of that grind. Get your debt down. Start investing in these kinds of properties, and get yourself financially free. On the West Coast, it's more of and East Coast, it's more of a churn and burn. You're buying, fixing, flipping, and you're not really buying for cash flow out there. But if that's your strategy, that works also. In the Southeast, there's certain markets like Charlotte. I've written about it. They are going crazy down there. It's hard to buy properties down there because they're just overbuilding, and there's a lot of money coming in from China, a lot of money coming in from foreign investors, and they're pushing those cap rates down, and those prices are going up, so you have to be wary. But there's other cities down in the Southeast that you can definitely find that are cash flowing down there. So it all depends on what your strategy is and what you're looking for. But my recommendation to a lot of people out there is try to get financially free. Try to find out what Jake would call your burn rate, monthly burn rate is that you need to live on. Nail that number. Put that number somewhere. If you need 10 grand a month or 12 grand, put that somewhere. Work towards that number. And let me tell you, once you get that number, you're going to feel like this big relief off your chest. And then you can start saying, okay, I'm going to start going out for bigger. That's what I ended up doing. That's what happened to me. That's how I was able to get out of the restaurant within 3 years once I committed. And you guys might say, well, 3 years is a long time. It is a long time, but it's not a long time because I could be 30 years and still doing what I was doing. So once you get that awareness, and for me, it was a little bit more money, obviously, because I have a big family, so I needed that bigger number than the average person. So, work towards that number.
Shorter than a college degree, right?
Yeah, and more rewarding than a college degree. You know what I'm saying?
Big time.
And you're working on yourself. You're always constantly working on yourself, and that's why I love doing this with you, because I'm constantly doing research. I'm learning about the market. I'm learning all about these numbers, about these metrics, being able to share them with people, being able to empower people, being able to give people the knowledge on how to do this stuff. That is truly awesome.
So to recap a little bit about what Gino was saying, what we're seeing is there's markets that you can try to time the market. You can speculate. You can go in and buy something at a crummy cap rate, not make any money on it, but you have the potential that there'd be an upswing in the market, then the appreciation play will come in and you can sell it for more. That's the speculation. That's the kind of stuff that you're seeing in some of these California and New York markets. What we do is we invest for cash flow. We buy on actual numbers, looking for 8% cap rates on something that's going to cash flow and just be, a money machine, just printing out money every month for us. And when we see the appreciation, it's going to be based on factual, hard evidence. Basically, we're going to the properties from the income approach on the appraisal, we're going to generate a higher NOI. Therefore, the property is going to be worth more. This is a stable kind of investment that we like to do. So I just wanted to differentiate those two things for the listeners, because you can go out and try to ride the wave, or you can get out there and work hard, find a deal that's going to cash flow, and just you can ride it. So those are I think it's very important to separate those two, because those are the two kind of investments that we see people doing on a typical basis. Mm-hmm. So after you pick your market, the next step is you got to know how to analyze deals, and this goes back to educating yourself and buying right. There's certain metrics. I mean, somebody may say, I'm great with the 7% cap rate. We shoot for 8. We have high standards. We really look at those tertiary submarkets, and we find a lot of times we can get lower price per units because there's less competition. But whatever that is, stick to your guns. If you're saying I want at least a 6.5 cap and an 8% cash on cash return, be willing to walk away. Patient, persistent, but willing to walk away. That's always what I say, and I think that's the key to buying these things right.
And I think you have to bring your credibility with you. I think you have to tell the broker why it doesn't work. Just don't tell them it doesn't work. Just tell them, listen, it's a great deal. It's going to be good for somebody, but it just doesn't work for my portfolio or for my strategy. Mm-hmm. I know we're going to get into this, but I want to make a plug for our credibility book and our credibility program.
Well, that's going to flow right in the next one. You can go just run with it, man. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So, I went out to the market yesterday. Like I said, I met Matt King and Antonio. I gave them both my credibility book. Matt King, when he saw that, I think his eyes I wouldn't say lit up, but he was sort of surprised.
You just qualified yourself.
He says nobody, and he's one of the top 5 brokers in the Cleveland market. I know that because I researched it. I talked to him. He knows everything about everything. Let me give you a couple of metrics he gave me, Jake. I wrote them down. He told me there's 1,200 buildings with 10-plus units in the Cleveland market. 7 people own 90% of those properties. He was talking about the Shaker Harts area. He gave me a management company, Smartland Property Management. He gave me a portfolio lender, First Federal in Lakewood. He was talking about U.S. Bank also, medical, healthcare, tech. That's the kind of jobs. East part of the city was the C minus, and a lot of D's. West part was the B plus. He knew the market implicitly. When I handed him that book and I showed him my portfolio, he says, I wish I had a lot more people doing this. And, that's the thing. I think you need to have your credibility, whether you have 1 deal, 50 deals, or you have no deals. The fact that you're giving him your credibility book, your ability to show him that you have a plan. When he saw mom and pop, he started laughing. He's like, I deal with mom and pop sellers all the time. I can't get numbers from them. I said, dude, I know. I said, I get brokers telling me they're underwriting deals. I know why they're underwriting deals, because they don't have actuals. I said, go get their returns. And he's fighting this battle every day. So the fact that he saw mom and pop, he's like, I can't believe this. He says, I see it all the time. So that credibility book is amazing. It really works. And for you to build one for yourself, it gives you the idea and the clarity and the focus on what you want to focus on. We focus on that, like Jake said, that target niche of mom and pop sellers in the C minus B areas. Now, one of my problems is I didn't give him the book before I went there. I might have emailed it to him. I got lost in translation. He started showing me properties in the C minus area that I wasn't too thrilled about, but at least I learned the market itself. Then I went out in the afternoon with the other broker. We had gone back and met him at another property that I was much more interested in. I said, so if I had been more clear with him and saying, listen, this is what I want, he would have taken me to exactly what I wanted, instead of taking me into those really more rundown kind of areas where you're going to cash flow. You're going to, like he said, the C properties in there are between 25 and 30 a unit, 25 and 30,000 a unit. the 2-bedroom apartments are getting between $650 and $700 a month, and it's really weird.
Sound familiar?
But you know what? In the B areas in Cleveland, yes, it's only a little bit more per unit, maybe 30 to 35,000, maybe to 40,000 a door. But the rents are the same, which is really strange. I can't figure that out. So you have to go in there armed with that knowledge, saying you're going to get a better tenant base, but your return is less because you're paying more per door. So you have to work it out. I'd rather pay a little bit more per door, have less risk. There's another thing he talked about, Jake, which I thought was really crazy. I want everyone to listen to this. Every market has their own rules. He was talking about point of sale. So when you're going in there and you're buying a property, when the property is changing hands, the city comes in and does a point of sale, which is basically they come in and take a look at all the crap, which is a money grab. But it's really annoying because if you don't know that, right, all of a sudden you got decks that need a little bit of work, you have some monitors, CO monitors, or whatever's missing, they can hit you with a bill. If you don't know that as the buyer going in, the seller is going to push that on you. That's a retradable offense on a lot of these things. They're going to go in and check for COs. And the crazy thing about it, Jake, is it's all different submarkets. So you can be in the Shaker Heights that they don't do it. The east part of Cleveland does it. I mean, it's does
it have anything to do with a tax reappraisal too? Wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, dude! And when they do that, they reappraise. And some of these owners own property for 30 years, and they're not selling. Then when they do sell, you have to put that in your pro forma. As the taxes were $20,000, now the taxes are going to be $35,000. If you're not savvy enough, your seller is going to be like, "That's too bad on you," and that could be a massive hit when you're going back. So learn all of these rules. And Jake, the other thing I want to talk to you about
that's your cash flow drying up.
Yeah, well, this is another crazy thing. I have to really research this in the market. But what he was saying is when you go and you turn apartments, sometimes every time you turn an apartment, you need to get a C of O.
Oh.
It's $250.
Come on.
Every time you turn an apartment per year. So can you imagine going, and you might turn that apartment twice. Now, are a lot of owners doing it? I don't know if they are. I'm not sure if they are, a lot of the owners doing it. But when you sell that property, they're going to see that you didn't do that. Yeah, but you know what? You have to know this as a buyer. So you have to go in there and ask these questions, ask what all the rules are. And like the whole C of O thing, it's the same thing as Rochester. When you buy a property, you need to have a certificate of occupancy on that building current, and they have to come in and do the inspections. And a lot of these buildings, Jake, they really need a lot of work, and they don't get this work because if you have 10 years,
it sounds like the government's actually holding back progress there. I think LeBron needs to step in and say something. King James needs to hold it down, man.
And a lot of these, I'm not going to say liberal, but a lot of these policies where government's trying to dictate and trying to help the tenant, the landlords can't put the money into these properties to fix these properties up because there's so much excess.
Paying money for COs and all this other stuff, yeah.
And they're trying to do it to keep these properties safe. There's a lot of slum landlords, but that's not the way to do it. That's really not one of the ways to do it, So the whole big picture of this is I want you guys, when you go into a market, you have to ask all these kinds of questions. What does the city dictate? What rules does the city have? What do you need when you're passing inspection? Do you need the C of O? There was a fire escape in back of this building, and you open the door. He's like, "Well, this has to be addressed." I mean, the thing is steel. I mean, if it's only a $300,000-$400,000 building, you got $30,000-$40,000 in that thing that has to be repaired. Mm-hmm. You have to know that. And most times sellers in that kind of property, they're going to say, take it as is. I mean, you want to take that risk and take it as is at 30, you spend $30,000 in a building that's worth $300,000, that's 10% of your, of what the cost is. You have to look at these things and weigh them with, if it's worth doing.
So I just want to talk a little bit about the benefits of having a credibility book. Number one, Gino made a friend right away. It was an instant icebreaker, it sounds like. You pre-qualified yourself. It's like applying for an apartment and you've already done your credit check and your criminal history, and you're turning it over to him saying, "Look, I'm pre-qualifying myself. I'm credible to be with you," right? And it's also going to they're going to give you more respect because now instantly he knows that Gino's a player. He can get one of these deals done if he needs to. Therefore, the broker knows he's not wasting his time, because one of the biggest pet peeves of these guys is people calling them. They're not qualified. They can't do it. They want to be in the game, but they shouldn't. Do your homework. Show that you are willing to put the time in, so at least the guy knows he's dealing with someone that's real and is not going to waste their time. Because that's one of the biggest things. Brokers feel like they're wasting their time. What are we saying about WBP here?
Well, this is the other thing. I qualified myself with a book. Now, not everyone has a book out there, right? But if you read articles, if you're into that, if you do podcasts like we do, give me. It's all about you're selling yourself. So the big G. I always talk about Grant Cardone. I'm doing his trainings on sales. When you're a salesman, you're trying to give as much information to your prospects as possible. So I'm giving them as much information on me as possible, as much as I know. Now, words are great, but for some reason, when you have something written down on paper, it qualifies you even more. So the fact that I have the credibility book and I have Wheelbarrow Profits book and I have the podcast and he hears me, it just qualifies me even more. So when you guys are out there, start getting this stuff down because it's really important. You throw that credibility book over. He has the ability to actually digest it, see what kind of properties, see where I'm buying, see what I've done to the property. So he knows that I like value adds. And, I told him off the bat, the first one for my friend that I was out there, you might have to be a momentum play where it's a little bit more stabilized. I didn't tell him that. But by the end of the day, we went to see the last asset, and that's what it was. It was more stable, very little deferred maintenance. It was more of a momentum play. My credibility book says that Jake and I like to have those value adds. So he would sniff out those kinds of deals. And look, I want properties at over 50 units. He sees my portfolio that have large properties. I don't want a 6-unit because it's not, to start out there because there's no economies of scale. I want something bigger. The credibility book will tell him that also.
But in a short period of time, you whittled it down, you funneled it down to exactly what you're looking for, and within less than a day, he showed you something that could be a potential property.
Totally.
Potential
and these guys,
buy.
They both did a great job. They both knew the market. They both, had a pulse on the market. They're both in it. I think Holton Wise, he told me he's managing 500 units right now. So they've got a nice portfolio of managing properties out there. They both had their pros and cons of the east side and the west side. One of them like one side better, one like, but you know what? So I digested it. It's where I want to go ultimately.
Right.
So, and that's what happened to me. I got a lot of great information in one day. So it's great. You guys should all go on Google, look at Google Maps. But until you go down there, like Jake was talking about, we're looking at a deal in Florida, in Tallahassee. It looks awesome on paper. It looks great, the neighborhood between two colleges, but unfortunately, it's not a good area. When you start talking about stuff, you start calling the police department for a criminal activity, and you say, "Wow, that's not a good market." And when you're gonna invest $500,000 or $1 million to buy a property, get on a plane and fly out there. Don't even look at the property. Look at the market first, because if the market works, then you start looking at properties. Don't go the other way around. Don't start looking at properties and then go, "Oh, is it going to work the market?" No. We love Knoxville. We love that market. Then we start looking at properties. Do that first.
So next up is we want, for the mechanical portion of this process, you got to create a net worth sheet and you got to get your financial house in order. And the reason for this is unless you come in with cash, the bank's going to want to see, okay, does this guy, is he going to qualify? And again, it's going to be based on the income approach and what the property's doing, but you need to show that you're capable to do it. So get your net worth sheet done, get your financial house in order, get your tax returns ready, because you're going to have this stuff. And if you're 60 days to close and the bank's waiting around for this, it's going to start to a relationship off on a rocky path.
And that's real easy. We have the deal analyzer suite that has all these calculators and has all of these sheets. You guys need to get your financial house in order. You can't start looking at real estate if you've got tons of credit card. I'm being realistic now.
Yep.
First of all, you have to be mentally in the game. So if you can't do a balance and a budget, then how are you going to be able to run a property? Because a property needs CapEx, needs money, budget on the side. You need to know your income and your expenses. So it's like running a household. The federal government doesn't do a very good job of it. That's why they're not in real estate, because they can't run real estate, because they can't run a budget, and real estate will explode if you can't do that. It's the same thing with you financially and personally. You have to get your financial house in order. Now, if you have credit card debt, that's fine. Try to get it down. Try to consolidate it. Do whatever you have to do. But you need to have a path. You need to know what you're spending every month. You need to know what your budget is, and get your financial house in order. It really works really well because you need to know what's going on, that next step. And you know what? I mean, if I'm looking at a partner, and me and Jake want to go into a partnership with somebody, and they've got their balance sheet is crazy. They've got credit. They've got bankruptcies. How are you ever going to go into business with somebody that's just a leading indicator that their life is a mess, and they're never going to be able to, go to that next level. So you really need to clamp down your financial and really work on that.
Yeah, and then you're going to be ready to go out and start building your team. You're mentally prepared. You got your financial house in order. Now it's time to let's go out and network. Let's start meeting those brokers. Let's start meeting those bankers, your attorneys, your title companies. And again, the best place to start is like Gino did yesterday. Start with the broker, and he's already started getting references. Certain bankers in the market, yep. Title companies. This is what you're going to do. But I really do think the first communication should be the broker, then the banker, and then everyone else typically falls in line after that point, because those two key partners are going to be able to refer you to everybody else that you need, at least in the professional category. Maybe not some of the contractors, but I actually got our current painter was a referral from my banker, so you never know. And it's just how it's gone for us at least. Any other referrals, Gino?
Yeah, I got a referral for an insurance
There
agent
you go.
From one of the brokers. He had somebody in house, but he was going to get a couple other guys. And like I said, Matt was really knowledgeable about the market. He'd worked in Charlotte, he'd worked in certain other markets, and then he came back up to Cleveland where he lived. And oddly enough, his wife is a pharmaceutical rep for Cleveland.
Oh,
so
I bet she's hot.
Cleveland, yeah, well, I think Cleveland Clinic actually is one of the biggest markets for pharmaceutical companies, and that's where a lot of the jobs are coming in. So I knew a lot of the job, I say quote unquote, it's not really growth, but job drivers is healthcare, insurance, medical, and technology. So I found that out also in the market. So he had a lot of contacts. So like I said, management companies are really hard. He gave me a good management company. That's one of the hardest things to find, I think. But obviously, he's closing 2 or 3 deals a month. He's going to have a title company. He's going to have an attorney in the area. So that's who you lean on. And then once you start building your team out from there, and he has obviously construction guys, the management company is going to be able to give you leads on that also. So you go from the top, and from there you start building your team out.
Now, after this, you're going to be presented with deals. You're going to have deals in front of you, and what you need to do is use the framework. Does it meet your buy right requirements? Does it meet your manage right requirements? And does it meet your finance right requirements? For the folks that are a part of the Wheelbarrow Profits Academy, we're actually going to be building a checklist that you can use, and we're going to be importing it into the academy, so you can say, okay, here are the requirements I've laid out that I have to hit in order to buy right. Here's what I have to do to manage right, and here's what I have to do to finance right. Guys, I'm sure many folks on the call, on the podcast, have listened to or read Wheelbarrow Profits, and that's what it comes down to. Multifamily investing is a 3-legged stool. It comes down to buying right, managing right, and financing right. You get those 3 things in order, you're going to be good. If one of those things is not working out, you're going to start getting wobbly, and you're going to be at risk for a faulty investment. So we're just trying to make this as soundproof and as safe and secure and as long-term as we can, because that's what we do for our own business. You've analyzed your deals. You've really gone through, done some due diligence. Now it's time to put in offers. Gino, any advice for putting in offers for someone on the first time?
As far as putting in offers, I mean, it's scary, right? We have a lot of.
They're scary when they get accepted, right?
And I don't want people out there just putting in stupid offers.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to do that and you're scared, go to another market. And if you're never going to invest in, if you're going to invest in Cleveland, don't start giving Matt stupid offers, because he doesn't want you to waste his time. Start analyzing deals. Like I'm going to tell you, he showed me a deal that was 46 a door. Once I looked at the numbers, not even close to 46. I mean, I was tempted to tell him it's worth 20 a door, and that's what it's worth. I mean, he's working with a bank. I don't know if the deal's going to go through, not go through, but I can't offer that. So maybe I'll pass on that deal. So keep me in the loop on that one. Start analyzing deals. Start putting in deals. Start putting your letter of intents in, and give them reasons why. And what Jake and I like to do is we like to throw our deal analyzer template over. We like to email it over with our numbers so the broker can see it, so he doesn't think we're crazy. And obviously we're going to show him what it is. And then there's numbers that are built in as far as deferred maintenance, that kind of stuff. That'll come off the top in the end. But if you shoot over your spreadsheets and show him how you're analyzing these deals, and if they're not working for you, he'll have a ton of respect for you. He'll know that you're serious. Everybody
says it, but numbers don't lie. So the numbers, if they're showing you actuals and you're analyzing them for them, it's going to say, and then a lot of times I've had brokers just say, I don't know what to say. Because you put it in front of them, and at least you keep the relationship, and you can, maybe that deal's not for you, and you just move on to the next one.
Totally, and that's what you want. You want to see as many deals as you can. You want to analyze as many deals as you can, and you don't want to lose a relationship. You really don't want to waste his time, because he's a busy dude. He's got a lot of stuff going on, and he doesn't want to have these ridiculous deals. So when I was talking about the $46,000 per door, he knows it's a crazy number. He knows it's a bank. But I mean, when I saw the NOI it was only $264,000, that's actual. I'm like, dude, at a 10 cap, it's $2.6 million. You go down to a 9 cap, it's around $3 million. So that's around 20. So he can't refute that. If that's not even lowballing, I'm going on actual numbers. So the bank obviously is going to take a big haircut. It was their fault. And it's a non-recourse loan, so the guy's just not even paying the loan back. It's crazy, dude. The stuff that you hear out there. People don't take responsibility. They really take advantage of the system. I learned that yesterday. I never thought people would do that. They get the non-recourse, Jake. He's not even. Those
bad boy carve-outs.
Dude, let me tell you something. But he's getting the monthly income. He's not paying taxes. He's not paying the bank. But the property is immaculate. So he's running it. He's got it run full. And the bank wants this obscene number. Nobody's going to come even close to it. That's one of the things I didn't mention. In this market, a lot of outside investors. Dude, it's non-recourse. So they're going to take the property back. But I don't know how long he's been doing this for. So he's collecting about 45, 50 grand a month. What is his expenses? Maybe 15 grand a month. So he's putting all this money in his pocket, and it's unfortunate. Me and my friend are sitting there thinking, how does this even happen? But they gave him the non-recourse loan, so now he's doing that, and the bank is stuck.
Yeah, but this guy's real estate career is good luck getting another non-recourse loan after this.
Well, Jake, he's done this on multiple loans.
Really?
So
why do they keep giving it to him?
Well, he did this a couple of years ago, so he's cashed out, I think, on two or three big properties. So I mean, you're talking about
that's not cool.
No, it isn't, and that's what's happening. And that's what's going on, and that hurts the market. That hurts the Cleveland market when people do that, because these assets tend to get run down, and their prices get pulled down, and everyone around gets pulled down, and all the numbers get pulled down. That's what happens. That's why there's no elevation. And banks these banks went out of business. They sold one of them sold the loan, and the other one who assumed the loan is stuck right now. So they probably bought the loan at 30 cents on the dollar. So banks are really difficult to work with, and this is considered a short sale, but it's going to be a difficult short sale because they're just obstinate. It's been 4 or 5 months. There's no movement on this thing. Like I said, at 20,000 units, it's a good play. I didn't like the unit mix. A lot of studios and a lot of one beds. They misrepresent. The sheet said 1 and 2s. Out of 150 units, I think there's 6 2-bedrooms. They're all ones and studios. And in that market, it's okay because it's more elderly. So it's more. So the 1 beds are okay, but you get kind
of like a Cardinal apartment play.
Yeah, but it's got an elevator, so they got a couple of elevators.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot of different stuff going on in this property, but you just have to be aware of what's going on in that market. A lot of guys did this, Jake, and they've been holding off for the last 3 or 4 years, just collecting the rent, basically, and not paying the bank,
So, going to push through the final part of this, the mechanical portion of this. Next up, pretty straightforward, is going to be your purchase and sale agreement. You're going to have to get a good attorney on board, someone that you can work with long term to do your purchase and sale agreements. Make sure you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's. Gino, anything to add on that one before I continue on?
Not really.
It's pretty straightforward.
Scary. Make sure you have contingency clauses as far as mortgage. Mortgage contingency, maybe you put in a clause saying if your partner doesn't like this deal, we're out. Basically, you want your clause on due diligence as far as wanting enough time to perform your due diligence. You want something about an inspection report in there. So a lot of these clauses, I don't want to call them, get out rat clauses where you rat your way out of there, but you want to be able to protect yourself.
No, it's to protect yourself because you don't know what you're getting into necessarily all the time. So
exactly, because all of a sudden, a roof might be missing, and the seller's like, I'm not repairing that. So if you can't come to terms, you want to get out of that deal because that's going to blow, like Jake said, it's going to suck your cash flow.
That's the cash flow vacuum right there.
Yeah, so you want to get out. So you definitely want to get on board with your attorney and make sure you protect yourself in that way.
Next up is going to be your financing, and I just want to be very clear about our strategies. We're looking for the at least 25 to 30 year AMs, the lowest rate possible, non-recourse, and a minimum of a 10-year term. So, what's good financing look like? That's what it looks like to us. You may have different objectives, but if for our buy and hold strategy, that's what we're looking to achieve. From that point, you're getting your financing teed up, and then it's going to be your due diligence. That's gonna be where you're getting your inspectors on board. Your title company is going to be doing their work, and you're making sure that you're getting rent ready units. That's one of our biggest objectives going into these things, is that make sure that the units are rent ready, right?
Yeah, I read a book on the plane, Jake. Short book, about 100 pages, about commercial due diligence. I got one massive takeaway from this. I think everyone should do this. I love this. Talk to the tenants. See if you can get 1 or 2 tenants, and if you're lucky enough, maybe get a tenant survey and send it out to the tenants. Let them tell you what's wrong with the property. Well, I've had water leaks here. I got smell in here. There's mold here. The neighborhood's too loud. The management company stinks. The more you can talk to the tenant and see what's going on, they're going to tell you, because the management company in place might not tell you because there's a conflict of interest going on. But I found that to be really, and we've done it before in our properties, not even knowing. But you want to know from the tenant's perspective what's wrong on this property and what can you fix also on the property. They're the ones that are living there. They've been there. You can go on Google and read people's nasty crap on Google. I don't trust those rules.
Yeah, but if you see, the thing is with those online reviews, if you see trends, then you're onto something, and that's when you got to dig deeper.
Yeah, we've done that. Don't get me wrong on that. But that just might be somebody being nasty and trying to get back to the person. You want to actually talk to people who are actually living there right then and there on the property, right? And it's not hard to do. You knock on a door. You want to ask a few questions. Not a big deal. Shouldn't be a problem.
But if you're going through with your inspector, you're going to be seeing these people. So it's not even. It's you're going to have multiple opportunities. So.
You need to get information. You're a salesperson. You need to get information from these people because you're going to be serving them. So how are you going to serve them better, higher? Maybe the air conditioning is not working. Maybe the heat stinks. Maybe the windows are drafty. Hey, listen, if you got crappy windows, that's something maybe retradable. Maybe they're not broken. Maybe the appliances are old. A lot of this stuff you can find out from a tenant, and it's gold.
Yeah. So when you get through that due diligence, then it's time to get it on, right? Then it's time to take over, and then you're off to the races. So that's all the mechanical leading up to it. And the point that I was trying to make is, I think most of the folks out there are aware of sort of that process. Maybe you bought a home before, you kind of see how it works. There's some similarities there, but that's the mechanical portion of it. You can do that. Are you able to get your mind right? Are you able to say, this is what my goal is, and commit to that goal and see it through? That's the difference maker to me personally. That's what I think is the difference maker from growing a real estate empire that you're going to create wealth with versus I'm kind of dabbling. You kind of dabble, you're not going to get there. You got to fully commit and make your mind up.
I think everyone has to approach it from a value perspective. How can you create value for yourself and create value to others? It's not about where am I going to get the money from. It's where am I going to get the deal from? And once you get the deal, you're going to find that money anywhere, whether it's your uncle who has a self-directed IRA.
If it's a legitimate deal, if it's truly a good deal, good market,
that's what I'm saying.
If it checks out, yeah.
That's what I mean. So don't worry about where you're going to get the money. Let's not worry about that right now. I wouldn't even think about that. Pick the market, start analyzing the deals, and then, obviously if you have money, that's great. We started out with a little bit of money, that's great. But then we did a little owner financing. So there's always creative ways of finding money, and if not, there's always people who have money. Now, listen.
You need to network with them, though.
10% of something is better than 100% of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I always look at it that way. It gets you into your game. You'll build your credibility book, and from there you can start buying more stuff. And like Jake and I did, you buy right. Within 6 months to a year, probably 12 months, you can refi, and there's your next set of money. Or if you start fixing and flipping with the idea of let me start getting that first chunk of change, you have to have a plan. But you have to always think about where are you going to create the value and how you're going to find these deals and how you're going to bring these deals to other people.
Absolutely. So that's it for today's podcast. Gino, great job, and we will talk to everybody next week.
Okay, that's going to do it for today. If you found value in this episode, please don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes. We really appreciate it. Also, if you'd like to speak with us, we are now doing 2 30-minute strategy sessions every Friday. You can sign up for these at jakeandgino.com. This has been another episode of the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, the only show that teaches that it's education times action that equals success. I'm Jake, and he's Gino. Over and out.
We trust that you enjoy the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast. Visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. See you next time when Jake and Gino share more of their investing secrets with you.